Good evening, Commissioners. We'll begin this evening's meeting, and it's going to be a fun one. We have a room full of Clovis's youth, some of the finest and most successful of Clovis's youth, and we're doing a proclamation for the band early on in the agenda, and looking forward to everything that we'll be having before you this evening. We'll begin with a word of prayer, and then we'll honor our flags. Pray with me, please. Our Father in heaven, we acknowledge you as the creator and sustainer of life. God, thank you for the blessings that you give us, Lord. Thank you for the blessing of this wonderful community that we're all privileged to live and work and serve in. And we ask your blessings on our community, God. Thank you for our youth. Thank you for our schools and the successful programs such as the band and the Wild Cadets. And Lord, we thank you for the privilege as the elected officials of doing the city's business, and we pray for your wisdom and guidance as we do so this evening. Make us good stewards of the city's resources. And I pray these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Join me in honoring our country's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of Mexico, the sea symbol of perfect friendship among the United cultures. Our meeting is called to order. Ms. Reyes, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Madrid?
Here.
Commissioner Casals?
Here.
Commissioner Elliott?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Bryant?
Here.
Commissioner Garza?
Here.
Commissioner Rowley?
Here.
Commissioner Paula?
Here.
Commissioner Burns?
Here.
Mayor Morris?
Here. Thank you, Ms. Reyes. Next, Commissioners, is approval of the agenda. You've had the opportunity to review the agenda. Unless you recommend rearranging or removing any of the items, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve from Mayor Pro Tem Bryant, second from Commissioner Paula. Commissioners, please vote. And the vote is unanimous. The motion is carried and our agenda has been approved. Next is approval of minutes. We have the minutes from the Thursday, October 21st, 2021 meeting in your packet, and you've had the opportunity to review those. Do you recommend changes or corrections to those minutes, or is there a motion to approve them as they are printed?
I move for approval.
Second.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Garza, second from Commissioner Elliott. Commissioners, please vote. And the vote is unanimous. The motion is carried and the minutes have been approved. Next is recognition of visitors. And again, it is so great to see a room full of young people from the community. And it's great to see everyone here. And we look forward to hearing from you when we reach the point in the agenda that you're here to share with us on. We'll move on into proclamations, awards, and presentations. The first one there this evening is a presentation of proclamation proclaiming tomorrow, Friday, November 5th, 2021, as Clovis Wildcat Marching Band and Wild Cadets Day in the city of Clovis. And we have on hand, I see the director, Mr. Bill Allred. I also see Mr. Brandon Borio here this evening. Would either or both of you gentlemen like to come up and share a little bit with us about the success of the band? Mr. Allred, welcome.
Thank you. Well, thank you for this honor bestowed upon us. We're really appreciative of it. It's been definitely a lot of people have been part of the success. Amazing students, amazing student leaders, great staff, Miss Davis, Mr. De Leon, Mr. Crane, Mr. Rowe, Miss Bailey, Miss Flores, Coach Cordova, and Miss Cordova, Kim Cordova, and her daughter, Maritza Cordova, and Megan Leclerc, and of course, Mr. Boreal, Director of Music Education, making all this happen. So we're greatly honored to be here.
Well, thank you for being here, and thanks for all you do. You know, Mr. Allred, you asked me to come out and talk to your band, I believe, right before school or right before things really got going, and that was a privilege for me to get to do that. But if you remember, I asked you, I said, I'm happy to do that, honored to do that, but tell me what to say, because I wanted to hit the mark. I wanted to convey the right message to your kids, to your band, and you talked about how at this stage of the game, there's a lot of this optional concept on the part of not just our youth, but certainly on the part of our high school kids that, may or may not remain committed, may or may not, stick with this, that kind of thing. And so you asked me to talk to them about sticking with it and how it's worth it to stick with it. And your band is an example of that. Your band is frankly the shining example of sticking with it and of resiliency. You lost your entire last marching season, yet picked up right where you left off, went over to Texas and a couple of different times and won everything, and then went and won it all at the state competition once again. The picture of resiliency. Your band, when I look at them out there, we have kids from all walks of life, all different circumstances, yet coming together and doing something so beautiful that no one of them could accomplish on their own. It's a model for community, and we're grateful for all that you've done over the years. I don't know if there's a way to tally, but you've made champions of thousands of kids from Clovis. You and your program, Mr. Allred, and as a parent and as leaders in this community, we couldn't think of anything better than for our kids to grow up, for kids in Clovis to grow up with that standard of excellence and that work ethic that you instill in them, and then they carry that with them into whatever it is that they do next. And so we're just so proud of you, so proud especially of the kids. So thanks for being here. And I want to share the proclamation, but I also want to give the commissioners an opportunity to make any comments.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to make a couple of comments, and I want to congratulate all the members of the band for a wonderful season. You very much deserve to be recognized for what you do. But I also want to introduce a couple of band students, which are also two of my grandkids, Joseph Vickers and Francisco Rodriguez.
Joseph?
Sitting back there.
Oh, we got stories, I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah. So, once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, I just want to say thank you, because leadership is something that is earned, and a lot of kids need to earn that leadership. I mean, it's taught by you, and I think they're going to be following on your steps, and I appreciate that. I want to introduce my granddaughter, Gabriela Tapia. She's been following you, and she worked real hard to be where you wanted her to be, and appreciate your push for her to do that. And again, without a leadership, you can't accomplish much, but everybody involved in the program, including the boosters, are part of this, and I appreciate everybody for what they do. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely, our pleasure.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Elliott.
I just want to thank you, all you directors of the band, and all of the kids and students that are in the band. And I had grandkids, for several of them that played in the band, and there's a different discipline with these kids. I don't know how y'all do it, but you get around them, and they're not a bunch of kids that are causing problems. They are just disciplined, and they work hard at what they do, and they're dedicated to that. And I just applaud all you guys for working hard with them, all the students and the band members. Thank you for representing Clovis, New Mexico proudly. We appreciate it. Thanks.
I just one more last comment. I think the band needs a little more cowbell.
Oh, there's more stories. I'll tell you later.
Every time I watch him do something like that, it's like, wow, awesome. Keep on doing what you're doing.
Commissioner Burns, you had a comment?
Yeah, Mr. Allred, as you know, both my kids were in band, but I'm not sure you know this or not, but they both went on to college and played in band at Notre Dame and at New Mexico State. And I agree with the commissioners here as how important this activity is and what it does to young people to help grow them up and teach them how to continue and process and do things well in their future lives.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Yes, Commissioner Madrid.
I just want to congratulate you guys and for the job well done. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, one of the funnest parts of doing proclamations is I get to stand here in front of everyone and read them. And so I want to read the proclamation, and then if it's at all possible, we'd like to have everyone, the students and everyone with the band and the Wild Cadets and Color Guard and CMS folks will position you out here in front looking that way, and I'll come down and present the proclamation to you, Mr. Allred, or whoever you choose. Whereas the Clovis High School Wildcat Marching Band, under the direction of Bill Allred and assisted by Susan Davis, Juan DeLeon, Dustin Crane, Brandon Rowe, Jenny Flores, and Michaela Bailey. And the Color Guard instructors, Megan LeClaire, Maritza Cordova. The CHS Wild Cadets are under the direction of Kimberly Cordova and Sharon Dorman. Whereas the marching band competed October 2nd, 2021 at the High Plains Marching Contest in Amarillo, Texas, where they were awarded Outstanding Percussion, Outstanding Large School Band, and Grand Champion. And whereas the marching band competed on October 5th at the Green and Silver Classic in Portales, New Mexico, where they were awarded Best Marching Performance, Best Musical Performance, Best General Effect, Best in Class 5A, and Best Overall Band. And whereas the marching band competed on October 9th, 2021 at the Westerner Marching Contest in Lubbock, Texas, where they were awarded Outstanding Percussion, Outstanding Color Guard, and Grand Champion. Whereas the marching band competed on Saturday, October 23rd, 2021 at the Zia Marching Fiesta held at the University of New Mexico. The band won Outstanding Visual Achievement, Outstanding Musical Achievement, Grand Champion, and State Champion. And whereas the Clovis High School Marching Band has 9 consecutive New Mexico State Championship titles and 20 New Mexico State Championship titles overall and 16 Grand Championship titles. And whereas since 2007, the band has won the state title 12 of the 14 years. This is the 13th title championship for Director Bill Allred. Now therefore, I, Mike Morris, Mayor of the City of Clovis, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby declare November 5th, 2021 as Clovis Wildcat Marching Band and Wild Cadet Day in the City of Clovis. And I invite all citizens to join with me in congratulating the Clovis High Marching Band and Wild Cadets.
Hey, students, come on up. Band directors, Mr. Florio, come on up.
Yeah.
You guys are going to go down there too, or what?
Come on, Boreal. Get it together, Boreal.
Gabby, you're too short, Gabby. Gabby.
This is not going to go well.
Up front.
Can see you.
The city is very, very proud of you. Good job,
Oh, yes.
guys.
Good job. Good job, guys. Good job. Okay, we got to do a selfie. selfie, guys. Awesome.
She'll be on it forever.
Thank you for coming in, guys.
Just kidding.
Nice, love that picture. Oh my gosh. I know.
I'm sure, or
I think you can all eat.
they don't care either.
Yeah.
Around us the crowd.
And I would like to mention to everyone that was here with the band and the Wild Cadets, you absolutely are welcome to stay, but you're also free to go. These meetings don't often become more fun as they go. So you're welcome to leave if you would like. Commissioners, next in our agenda, we do have another proclamation. We have a presentation of proclamation proclaiming November 20th. We'll give it a moment. Bye, everyone. Commissioners, next is a presentation of proclamation proclaiming November 20th, 2021 as Walk to End Alzheimer's Day. And to share with us about that this evening is Ms. Diane Morton. She is the Director of Programs at Retired Senior Volunteers as well as Foster Grandparents Programs. Ms. Morton, great to see you.
Thank you. Hello, Commissioners. Like you said, the County Manager, Lance Pyle, came up with the idea of partnering with our budding Portales City and Roosevelt counties to host what we hope to be an annual event where we host a walk to raise money for funds for research for Alzheimer's. So this year, Curry County will be hosting that event, and our hopes is next year Roosevelt County will host it, and we'll kind of go back and forth like that. It's not a competition, our city against Roosevelt. It's a partnership together. So it's both of our cities, both of our counties. We have countless sponsors, the United Way of Eastern New Mexico, CCC. There's so many. There's probably about 15 or 20, and I know I'll mess them all up. But we have had great fun trying to plan this, and we're working with the New Mexico chapter of Alzheimer's. So it will be November 20th at 10 a.m. from 10 to 12 at the Curry County Event Center this year. All money that is raised will go to the Alzheimer's Association to help raise awareness and hopefully find a cure for this horrible disease along with other forms of dementia. So that's
Well,
what it's
thank
all
you.
about.
Thank you for highlighting the fact that you have a partnership that exists between
Yes.
Curry and Roosevelt and Clovis and Portales. Wonderful to see that partnership and for such a great cause. Thank you for the opportunity to do the proclamation.
Oh, I'm excited.
Whereas approximately 43,000 New Mexicans currently live with Alzheimer's disease, and that number is expected to increase to 53,000 by the year 2025. And whereas over 85,000 families and friends in New Mexico provide $2.5 billion in uncompensated care for their loved ones who have Alzheimer's disease and are subject to high levels of physical and emotional stress. And whereas Alzheimer's disease is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States, and whereas dementia is one of the costliest conditions to society. The cost of health care and long-term care for individuals with Alzheimer's or other dementias is substantial. And whereas the Alzheimer's Association leads the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementia by accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection, and maximizing quality care and support. And whereas thousands of New Mexicans will come together during the fall of 2021 to raise awareness and funds through statewide Walks to End Alzheimer's events. And whereas Curry County, in partnership with the City of Clovis, the City of Portales, and Roosevelt County is organizing the first annual Curry Roosevelt County's Eastern New Mexico Alzheimer's Walk on November 20th, 2021, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Curry County Event Center. Now therefore, I, Mike Morris, Mayor of the City of Clovis, and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim November 20th, 2021 as Walk to End Alzheimer's Day in the City of Clovis, and encourage all citizens to attend the first annual Curry Roosevelt County's Eastern New Mexico Alzheimer's Walk and to wear purple this day to raise awareness to Alzheimer's disease. Commissioners, next is receipts of petitions and communications. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to bring something before the commission this evening? Very well. Hearing and seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. Commissioners, this item is placed on the agenda so that the commission, by unanimous consent, can designate those routine agenda items that they wish to be approved or acknowledged by one motion. If any proposal does not meet with the approval of all commission members, or if a citizen so requests, that item will be heard when reached under the regular agenda. You have on the consent agenda this evening 14 items. The first is the motion to place. The 14th is the motion to approve or acknowledge. I'll read items 2 through 13. Item 2, request for approval of adoption of ordinance number 2152-2021, approving an application for the Economic Development Project enlarging and extending the city's water system to the Clovis Regional Airport and authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the New Mexico Economic Development Department and the City of Clovis. Item 3, request for approval to enter into an agreement with Decker Parrish Sabatini for design services for the expansion of the airport terminal. Item 4, request for approval of land use easement with Epcor Water. Item 5, request for approval of scope and fee with Souder, Miller, and Associates for Phase 3 of the 7th Street Improvement Project. Item 6, request for approval to award RFP 21-0608-04 Economic Development Opportunities Study to TIP Strategies. Item 7, request for approval of Outdoor Warning Siren Maintenance Agreement, Emergency Management. Item 8, request for approval of budget change for holiday lighting at Green Acres Park. Item 9, request for approval to award ITB 21-0916-07 Main Street Railroad Parking Lot to Nick Griego and Sons. Item 10, request for approval of Parks Memorial and Donation Policy accompanied with the Memorial Donation and Gift Agreement Form. Item 11, request for approval to appoint Thomas Martin to serve on the Parks, Recreation, and Beautification Committee. Item 12, request for approval to appoint Monica Provolt to serve on the Civic Center Policy Committee. And item 13 is request for approval to appoint 2 citizen members and 1 utility provider member to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission. Commissioners, I would entertain a motion to place the indicated items on the consent agenda by unanimous vote.
So move.
Second.
Motion to place the indicated items on the consent agenda by unanimous vote by Commissioner Casals, second from Commissioner Madrid. Commissioners, please vote. And the vote is unanimous. The items have been placed on the consent agenda. I would now entertain a motion to approve or acknowledge all items on the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Garza, second from Mayor Pro Tem Bryant. Commissioners, what is before you is the approval of the consent agenda. Please vote. And the vote is unanimous. The motion is carried. Next is introduction and adoption of resolutions and ordinances. Two items to deal with there this evening. The first is request for approval of adoption of resolution number 3095-2021 pertaining to a ruined, damaged, or dilapidated building and authorizing abatement by demolition of such building and related debris from within the city of Clovis. We're talking about 1105 North Prince, and to advise on this item, City Attorney, Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners. Two items, as you noted on the agenda, both are resolutions for condemnation. Neighboring properties that both have structures that used to be residences and now are, according to building safety, I think a menace to our public comfort, health, peace, or safety. The pictures in your commission packet, I think, didn't come out the way that I had viewed them, and so I have some on my computer if you'd like to look at them. I know Mr. Wilt's here from Building Safety. He's personally visited both properties, but they appear to me from the pictures to be destroyed and dilapidated beyond repair, and I believe Mr. Wilt has indicated that to me. So the owner of the properties is Anthony Scioli. Yesterday I was contacted by Doug Scioli, who I guess was a city employee firefighter for a number of years. He's Anthony's brother and advised me that Anthony's passed away recently, and he inherited about 12 to 24 properties. He's still sorting it out throughout the city. These are two of those properties. He would like the structures demolished. He recognizes the need to demolish them. He doesn't know if he'll be able to pay for it or fund it at this time. He's also still going through the process of getting his brother's case probated and the properties placed in his name. So there's still some unknowns, but he did offer to just deed the properties to the city after we demolish them, in exchange for us waiving the sewer and garbage liens, which we're looking into, and then any liens for demolition. So that's a possibility, but there's, again, some things that need to be worked out. So before you tonight on the first one, 1105 North Prince, is a standard condemnation resolution for your approval, and if there's any specific questions, I'm happy to answer them or defer to Mr. Will.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Commissioners, questions?
I don't have a question. I did drop by and look at the properties myself, and because I couldn't see the pictures properly, so I move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Garza, and I believe I heard the second from Commissioner Elliott. Yep, okay. Commissioners, what is before you is the approval of adoption of resolution number 3095-2021. Please vote. And the vote is unanimous. The motion is carried. Next is item 2, request for approval of adoption of resolution number 3096-2021 pertaining to a ruined, damaged, or dilapidated building and authorizing abatement by demolition of such building and related debris from within the city of Clovis. And this is 1101 North Prince. As Mr. Morris indicated, these properties we have the same set of circumstances with both of these properties.
Sir, and there's more than one. I think these are the two worst ones, and these, I should have mentioned this at the last discussion item. They're both abandoned, obviously, and incapable of being lived in. There's several more that are probably below code that we need to look at that are 1107, I think 1121, and so we're working on those as well. But as far as this item, 1101 North Prince, again, is an abandoned structure incapable of repair, and Building Safety is requesting your approval.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioners?
Again, I drove by, same thing. Move for approval.
Second.
Okay. Motion to approve from Commissioner Garza, second from Commissioner Paula. And what is before you is request for approval of adoption of resolution number 3096-2021. Commissioners, please vote. And the vote is unanimous. The motion is carried. We have nothing to deal with this evening under unfinished business, so we will move on to new business, where we have 5 items this evening. The first is request for approval to change the retail fuel price at the Clovis Regional Airport. And joining us this evening to talk about this is Mr. James Harris. Mr. Harris, welcome, and you have the floor.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. Clovis Regional Airport, we're proposing to add pricing for the upcoming self-service fuel and and increasing the pricing on our fuel truck prices, which is known as full service. So with the self-serve coming in, my thinking was if we start off at a low price and we'll get aircraft coming in, getting used to the Clovis name, getting used to our fuel, and we'll be able to beat everybody else in the region on fuel prices for self-serve. And the increase in the full service, the truck fuel, will help take some of the cost off of the new trucks that we just ordered. So my thinking is we go up from $1 to $1.30 on the 100 low lead, and from $1.30 to $1.75 on Jet A.
Okay, very good. You mentioned
Cheap.
that you'll have the self-service online and available soon. Is it?
Yes, they're coming out tomorrow to lay the pipe. They got to dig a trench and lay the pipe, and we should have it up by mid-November.
Very good, very good. Well, I know, I believe at Civil Aviation Board, I've heard you mention how well fuel cells are going at the airport, and so you certainly seem to have a good instinct as far as, how to market our airport for fuel cells and so forth. But can you kind of update the commission on how that's going? Well, and I guess and I remember you mentioning at one point, I think you said that fuel cells had either doubled or tripled over the previous year.
Yes, we're on track to make the highest numbers since the city has taken over fuel cells.
Okay.
The self-serve is just going to help with that. It's going to bring in aircraft that's looking for fuel. The slide presentation that I created, it shows you what our costs are right now. This is our prices. And then and update it for when we update the markup, what it will show. And then I showed that against our regional and our national, which we're still below. And then as an example, I gave what the nearby airports are doing with their fuel, which we're still below except for Hereford because it's hard to compete with them guys. And then I show a map of the regions and what the regions around the nation are showing for their fuel, which we're still below.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that information. Commissioners, do you have questions?
I think this is a good plan to be below the competition, and I think this is good prices, so I move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from Commissioner Garza and a second from Commissioner Burns. Any further debate on this item? Okay, the motion and the second, what is before you is approval to change the retail fuel price at the Clovis Regional Airport. Commissioners, please vote. And the vote is unanimous, and the motion is carried. Next item in new business this evening is request for approval of intergovernmental agreement between the New Mexico Economic Development Department and the City of Clovis for transmission line funding for the Clovis Regional Airport. Request to include expenditure of $500,000 in American Recovery Program funding towards the total cost of the project. And to advise on this, Ms. Burrows?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. Good evening. This item relates to one that you approved earlier, the adoption of the Ordinance 2152-2021 on the consent agenda. As you know, the City of Clovis submitted a grant application to the State Economic Development Department and has been awarded this $2.1 million to help towards the cost of the transmission line to the Clovis Regional Airport. The request this evening, as you stated, is an intergovernmental agreement that is required by the State of New Mexico's Economic Development Department And then we're also asking to utilize 500,000 of the American Rescue Plan funding that the city has received for this fiscal year. And with that, I'll stand for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burrows. Appreciate that explanation. Commissioners, do we have questions?
No questions. I think this is a great opportunity for the city of Clovis to get water to the airport, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from Mayor Pro Tem Bryant. The second came from Commissioner Madrid. Commissioners, what is before you is the approval of the intergovernmental agreement between the New Mexico Economic Development Department and the City of Clovis for the transmission line funding for the Clovis Regional Airport. Please vote. And the vote is unanimous. The motion is carried. Thank you. Next is request for approval of water, item 3, request for approval of water line extension agreement between the City of Clovis and EPCOR for water transmission line to the Clovis Airport. And Mr. Morris, are you going to advise on that?
I am, thank you, Mayor.
Awesome, thank you.
So in order for the city to take advantage of the $2 million plus in LEDA funding, obviously we need to enter into an agreement with EPCOR to construct that line and operate it, maintain it. And so before you this evening is a final draft version of that agreement. One unknown remains. You may have noticed in paragraph 4, we have currently we have our own small water system out at the airport that was purchased and possibly constructed with capital outlay funding. And so EPCOR has asked us to convey ownership and maintenance responsibilities of that water system to them. And Justin, Mr. Howalt and I are looking into whether or not we can do that. We've reached out to the Attorney General, and we were told we should know in maybe a month or so. So EPCOR is okay with that, and they're okay with the way we worded the language that if we're allowed to do it, we'll convey it to you. If not, then we'll at least give you the ability to work on it, maintain it, and keep it operating. So with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Appreciate that, Mr. Morris. Commissioners, several items on the agenda are the moving parts in a bigger project, and that is the extension of the city's water system east to our airport. And as Mayor Pro Tem, as you mentioned previously, that's just a wonderful thing. It's a good thing that we're getting that done, and I think, you know, having received the LEDA funding from the state is just wonderful, and this is a great opportunity. Any questions about this line extension agreement?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Casals.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Rowley. Any further debate? Hearing and seeing none. What is before you is the request for approval of the water line extension agreement between the City of Clovis and EPCOR. Commissioners, please vote. And the vote is unanimous. The motion is carried. Thank you. Next is item 4 under new business, request for approval of recommendation to the United States Department of Transportation regarding essential air service for the City of Clovis. Our airport director, Mr. James Harris.
Got back to me fast.
The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, I'm going to read it this time. The U.S. Department of Transportation has forwarded 3 proposals for the EAS contract for the Clovis Regional Airport. The Department of Transportation has asked the City of Clovis for a recommendation. The Civil Aviation Board met October 12th, 2021 to consider the proposals submitted for Essential Air for Clovis as follows. Boutique Air gave us 2 options, 18 weekly nonstop flights to Dallas or to Dallas and Albuquerque with an EAS cost for option 1 of $4,414,279, and for option 2, $4,373,494. The second one was Advanced Air, with also 2 options, both were 18 weekly nonstop round-trip flights to Dallas and or Albuquerque for option 1. Both were non-sterile area, meaning passengers wouldn't have to go through TSA, but would have to at Dallas and Albuquerque. Their second option was nonstop flights to Dallas or Albuquerque in the sterile area, meaning passengers would go through TSA here. Their EAS cost for option one was $4,705,857, and option two was $5,125,857. Also like to mention, this is for a King Air. It's a nine-seater aircraft, and Boutiques was the PC-12 that we had prior to. So smaller than what we're getting now. Then Denver Air gave us three options. All were for 12 weekly flights. Option one was nonstop round-trip flights to Dallas only, with an EAS cost of $5,128,528. Option two was for Dallas and Denver, EAS cost of $4,804,921. And option three was 12 weekly nonstop flights to Denver, with an EAS cost of $4,549,634. The Civil Aviation Board recommended Denver Air Connections Option 2 with a weekly nonstop flight to Dallas and Denver with service on their ERJ 145 and Dornier 328 jet aircraft. We also recommended a 4-year term that can be requested by the FAA.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that, Mr. Harris. Mr. Howald, did you have something?
Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, I would add that we did receive an additional proposal from Advanced Airline, an alternate EAS proposal. That was submitted after the three were submitted to USDOT, and if you remember correctly, the previous cycle that we went through, we had recommended an alternate EAS contract to the USDOT, which was ultimately rejected, so we did not consider it as an option for us to consider this time, knowing the stance from the USDOT when you do have viable options through the regular EAS program. So in addition, Mayor, we also have Mr. John Coleman here this evening, representative with Denver Air Connection. He is their Director of Business Operations, Business Development, and not only that, he's also one of the pilots that serves our area. So thank you, Mayor, if you have any questions.
Yeah. Well, welcome, Mr. Coleman. I appreciate you being here. Commissioners, do you have questions for anyone?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment on boutique care. We had them here before, and it was always problems with cancellations. I like the Denver Air option 2 because it goes to Dallas and Denver. And again, it's something that is much needed. So I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Garza and a second from Commissioner Casals. Any further debate?
And that's with the recommendation of the Civil Aviation Board.
I make the motion.
Right.
Yes.
Amend the motion.
Yes, to be clear.
Yeah, the Civil Aviation Board recommended Denver Air, so I move for approval with their recommendation.
To include the 4 years recommendation?
To include the 4
Okay, thank
yes.
To include the 4 years. And we have that second from
Yes.
Commissioner Casals. Any further debate?
You sure do.
Very good. Well, Commissioners, what is before you is request for approval of the recommendation to the United States Department of Transportation regarding the Essential Air Service, and that being Denver Air Connections, the option 2, and that includes the 4-year term as was recommended by the Civil Aviation Board. Commissioners, please vote. And the vote is unanimous, and the motion is carried. Thank you. Certainly, Mr. Coleman, please.
I don't have much. I didn't prepare anything, which is dangerous.
Don't make us change our vote.
I won't. In fact, I ought to just leave right now. Thank you all very much. It's an honor for Denver Air to serve Clovis. We have a great partner with Mr. Harris, Mr. Howald, and we just enjoyed being here. We started out, I know we weren't your first choice, and we just really appreciate the opportunity to have served you and given the chance. And my number is available to you at any time. Just holler out, and we'll do whatever we need to do to help you guys. We love it here.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mr. Coleman. We appreciate your service. The community brags about Denver Air Connections all the time.
I appreciate it.
Everyone is pleased. I've had family fly in and out, and I will finally get to take advantage of it myself. We're going to fly to Denver later this month, and so I'll finally get to enjoy it myself. But everyone else that I talk to brags about it, so thank you.
Thank you very much. From up front, come say hi.
All right, I'll do that. All right, Commissioners, next is item 5, and it is request for approval of discussion and action regarding the City of Clovis 2022 legislative priorities. Ms. Burrows?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. In front of you, there's a sheet of paper that was provided or emailed to you earlier regarding various items that we've been discussing with you in regard to the legislative priorities. So each year, the City of Clovis sets its priorities at about this time of year. The New Mexico 2022 legislative session begins on January the 18th, and the administration has met and would like to make the following recommendations to you for consideration this evening. And they're in no particular order. They are Martin Luther King, that's for the reconstruction between 7th Street and 21st Street for $1 million. Parks parking lot improvements for Bob Spencer, Dean Field, and Roy Walker areas that totals $380,000. Playground improvements at Potter, Ryerson, and Green Acres. The cost of that would be approximately $375,000. The Roy Walker HVAC and roof project, that would be $600,000. The FBO design, Clovis Municipal for the Clovis Regional Airport, that's something that is near and dear to James Harris's heart, would be $300,000. The Lyceum Theatre upgrades would be $400,000. As you know, about 3 weeks ago or so, we learned that we didn't receive the grant for the Ned Hook Park master planning work, so we're suggesting your consideration for asking capital outlay to do that master planning work. That's $120,000. And then residential street lighting, as we have discussed, is a challenge, especially in the southern part of the town. And so we're suggesting $200,000 to start that work. And so what I'm looking from you this evening, please, for your consideration is a few projects. I mean, some years the commission approves, recommends 3 projects, sometimes 5. I think last year we had 6 or so. Yes. So whatever's your pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burrows. Appreciate
yes, and
that.
if you could rank them as well, please.
So kind of like choosing your favorite children. We have to choose our favorite projects here.
The children.
Well, Commissioners, I know that
Russ
you've
is hiding behind the door.
I know that you've had the opportunity to give this some thought, and and choosing 4 or 5 or so of these 8 is difficult to do, and then even tougher than that is prioritizing them. But let's begin that discussion. What are your thoughts as you look at this?
Mayor, I'd be happy to start with some thoughts.
Please do, Commissioner Paul.
Okay. I'd like to keep the MLK roadway on there because I think that's the last piece to finish that puzzle, according to this wonderful spreadsheet here that was given to us. My thoughts on the playground parking lots, I don't think they're that bad. I know I was just at Roy Walker Monday on a volleyball game, and I mean, it's usable. I think there's things on this list that aren't usable at all, and I would like to get them to a functioning use, I guess. That's why I like the Lyceum Theater. We're not able to use it. It just sits there. And that's why I would like to bump that, I guess, above the parking lots. I'm always a fan of playgrounds. I think our playgrounds sometimes are kind of sad. Again, going back to Roy Walker, I was just there Monday. I've been there when it rains. It really does need a roof, and it really is hot in there. And residential street lighting, I know Helen is going to not like what I have to say, but I think it's so vague. And I think that $200,000 is such a tiny drop in the bucket of what probably needs to happen. And those are my thoughts.
Well, we appreciate those thoughts, Commissioner Paula. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna have to, the question that I will have is, if we get those $200,000 for residential lighting, where will we put those dollars?
So the town,
We can, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, and obviously there is, if we could take it to the Public Works Committee, start working with that committee, identifying maybe an area that we would want to start at, rather than taking a shotgun approach and saying this intersection here, this intersection over there. Maybe we just look at a neighborhood and start to narrow it in. And then, of course, depending on which franchise it's within, either it's within Farmers Electric or if it's within XL, start working with them, because they would be the ultimate ones that would install the lighting themselves. And basically, we would just enter into an agreement with them to install it and start working on pricing for each one of the locations. But, I mean, that's what I would recommend, is working with our Public Works Committee and then focusing in on a neighborhood versus taking a shotgun approach. That way we get the most impact out of those dollars.
Previously, we have some residents came up and they say that the safety was their concern. So I would like to keep that one there. The master plan for the Nehawk Park, can we do it ourselves? Can we come up with something instead of spending $120,000 there? I agree with the parking lots. I don't think we need that. There's really, I don't see that much of a problem there. The rest, I'm okay with it.
Okay, thank you for that,
I
Commissioner
like
Garza.
the FBO design. I think this is something important for Clovis if we're going to hopefully grow, bring in industry. We have to have a nice presence and it's my understanding, I haven't been out there since they put in the TSA, but it's my understanding that it's really difficult for inboard or outboarding airline passengers to spend their hour waiting to get on the plane. So I think we need to work on that, FBO.
Okay, thank you for that, Commissioner Burns. Commissioner Madrid.
you know, I'm good with MLK being where it's at, and I was thinking about Roy Walker and the air conditioner and the roof. That's kind of important. Maybe the FBO design, and I'm kind of leaning to playground equipment for the kids. I think the parking lots, we can live with the parking lots the way they are now, but I think the playground equipment would be something that we need. So, in the Lyceum, well, I say we put everything in there and hope for the best, see what they give us, see what kind of money they give us.
Mayor?
Yes, Commissioner Casals.
I agree with Commissioner Madrid about MLK. I think we've waited long enough, and that road does need to be fixed. It is a safety issue in my book. Also, the street lighting, especially south of Clovis. Ever since I became a commissioner, I have had a lot of complaints about the residents, and Justin and Claire have heard me complain about them. Residents can't even go walking in the evening because the streets are just so dark. So I would consider residential street lighting before Lyceum Theater and before the playground equipment and the parking.
Okay.
Mayor, my thought is, I agree with the Martin Luther King project being first. The Roy Walker HVAC and roof definitely need to be on there. The FBO design, I think, is important with the direction our airport's going in. I do agree with Commissioner Casals on the residential street lighting. I think it's important that we look at neighborhoods that are extremely dark right now, and we need to provide some kind of lighting for safety reasons. So that's just my thought on street lighting.
Thanks,
well.
Mayor Pro Tem. Appreciate your thoughts on that. And Commissioners, I guess we, eventually we'll get to the place here in a few minutes where we start to say, okay, what does the list look like? But let's remember, this is our capital outlay requests. There are some items on, these items are all important. There are other ways to look for money and go and pursue funds to work on some of these projects. So, I guess just keep that in mind as we will have to decide to take some off of this list that we approved tonight, right? But we can all agree, I think, that the MLK reconstruction is vital, and it needs to be a priority. I would say it's number one on our capital outlay list.
I agree.
Okay, so let's start to work on a list here. MLK reconstruction. I heard several of you talk about how important the Roy Walker HVAC and roof project could be.
Yeah.
Can we agree that that needs to be a priority?
Yes.
San Diego be number 2.
Okay, number 2, Roy Walker.
Number 3,
Residential lighting, number 3.
Okay,
I agree with that. I don't have a problem because it's been requested several times, and I think it's a safety matter. So
Okay.
I'm okay with that. And one thing to remember is the lower the amount, the more chances you have of getting that amount.
okay. All
Well, let's
right,
put the FBO number 4 then.
and I agree with that too.
okay.
So the
All right.
lighting is number 3.
Yes,
Yes.
street lighting.
So,
Then the Lyceum Theater.
No. I think there's some others more important than that, really.
Yeah.
The what?
We have another theater opening. It's ready to be utilized. So to have something going on in the community, I think we're covered as of right now. And the Lyceum Theater needs more funding than this to be brought up to par, to be able to be utilized, in my opinion.
okay, okay. Yeah, Ms. Burrows or Mr. Howald, where are we with the Lyceum Theater, and if we were to get, for example, 400,000 in capital outlay, how close would that get us to completing it?
Yeah, how long is a piece of string? Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. I believe that what remains to be done, and Brian, you can put some information here regarding what you need, that are following the flooding in the building, but to complete it so it can be used as a movie theater as well as a performing arts venue for the public, I think that we can get it done with the 400,000.
Okay,
I can't speak to Brian's.
We're currently working with the insurance company still working, I should say, with the insurance company from the flooding in February. As you know, things aren't getting any cheaper. So I'm not sure if this delay is going to help us or hurt us if things come down in the near future or distant future. I don't know. But that's where we are right now. We're just negotiating with the insurance company.
okay. Thanks for that. Commissioners, I feel like that the playground improvements are a priority. They're important. That we're giving our residents enjoyable and safe place to enjoy recreation outdoors. So I have a hard time taking that one off. However, I would offer up, and the Ned Houck Master Plan has been something that's been important to me, and I've wanted to see that happen, but I can recognize that in order to get a list of priorities here, I would let go of that and not argue for it. But what are your thoughts about including playground improvements?
I think it's important. We have, if we get back to where this pandemic continues to be a problem, then you're going to have playgrounds to have small families take their kids, small groups to do that.
Okay, and we've pretty well agreed that if we were to take something off, parking lot improvements at Bob Spencer, Deanfield, Roy Walker, those places, several of you made the comment that those don't feel like really high priorities right now. So if we were to scratch that off, and the working list that I have jotted down is the MLK project, second, Roy Walker, third, residential lighting, fourth, FBO, and fifth, playground improvements. Is there any reason why we wouldn't perhaps go ahead and add as a sixth the Lyceum Theater?
I would like to do that.
Okay, and if,
Yeah, I'm good with that.
and if we did that again, and stop there, but we would have MLK, Roy Walker, the residential lighting, FBO, playground improvements, and then Lyceum, and
And then let's put Ned Howe, 7.
okay, and I appreciate that, Commissioner Burns, but I think if we make the list too long,
We'll get nothing.
maybe that's not a good idea in the strategies that we.
They can't not give us nothing. Won't happen.
And
What is-
Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, just for your information, the total combined list that we submitted last year was up around $11 million that we actually ended up requesting. Obviously, we didn't receive that. But the total list that was presented to you this evening was just a little bit over $3 million. I want to say 3.3 or 3.8, maybe it's a little bit more closer to 4. So just for comparison's sake, we do have a lot more smaller projects than we had last year. Last year when we were asking for funding, of course, we had 7th Street on there, which was a big project, several $1 million. We also had MLK on there last year, which was several $1 million. We had North Street on there, which was about $1.5 million. So we did have several really large projects on there last year. So just something for you to consider.
What did they fund?
Last year we received funding for North Street, the 1.5 million.
Dollars, please.
What's that?
Dollars.
1.5 for North Street, and then 120 or $75,000 for playground equipment.
And then Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, and Commissioner Burns, for your information, and maybe Commissioner Pollard too, last year we asked for funding for the animal control building, a new animal control building. But due to what's going on currently with the animal control, we're actually going to have a meeting next Monday with the task force to start working on the project as a whole. And we won't be in a position to ask for funding within this next capital outlay session, so we haven't recommended it as a consideration this time around. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so total funding-wise was $1,575,000.
That we received.
Correct, for 2 projects.
Thank you.
I mean, we can get with our legislative representatives and see what they think about the list, and if we can add something else, then we can go with something smaller that might be funded quickly than others. So the NEHA Park Master Plan will be the one that will be smaller than others.
Correct, but Commissioner, for this evening, for us to establish what our legislative priorities and our capital outlay requests would be, if we're to take action on that, we can obviously still work on finding funding
Right.
for these others. And, parking lot improvements and Ned Houck master plan, if we were to just add them to this list, it may be, just sort of diluting the list, or perhaps it doesn't matter, but,
And Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, we can always apply. There are other funds that we can go to, through the state and other sources to apply for funding. The Kaboom grant that we applied for and weren't successful with was because of the funding situation with that company. That was for a playground, and I anticipate that we will be able to apply for that again when funding comes open. We could certainly try and seek planning funding again for Ned Hook Park elsewhere too.
And just for y'all's information also, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners, is that this is what we're submitting to our legislators. for their capital outlay funds. The governor also has, at least she did last year, had a request portal to receive funding through her as well, and capital outlay funds from her. So if you guys wanted to select one of these projects for us to submit as a request to her office, we certainly could do that as well.
Okay, great suggestion. Commissioners, I'm just gonna, perhaps you've been taking notes, but just to summarize, right now we have 6 items. The Martin Luther King, and this is the order of priority that we've discussed putting them in. The Martin Luther King reconstruction between 7th and 21st Street. Second, the Roy Walker HVAC and roof project. Third, residential lighting. Fourth is FBO design for Clovis Regional Airport. Fifth, playground improvements. And sixth, Lyceum Theater upgrades. Would someone
Make a motion?
make a motion or have
I sure will.
some, okay.
Second.
Okay.
I second them.
Motion to approve the list of 6 priorities that I just read from Commissioner Casals, and we got a second from Commissioner Garza. Is there any further debate? Okay. Commissioners, what is before you is approval and action regarding the City of Clovis 2022 legislative priorities, those being the MLK reconstruction between 7th and 21st, the Roy Walker HVAC and roof project, 3rd, residential lighting, 4th, FBO design at Clovis Regional Airport, 5th, playground improvements, 6th, Lyceum Theater upgrades. Please vote. And by a vote of 8-0, the motion is carried. Thank you. Next, we will move into reports of boards, officers, and committees. Is there a report regarding the Clovis-Carver Library Board meeting that happened on Monday, October 25th?
There is, Mayor, thank you. We welcome 2 new board members as students. We had reports and updates from Mrs. Hinchy. We also talked about the new LED sign that is going to be on 7th and Main to be funded with the GEO bond money, and discuss the landscaping at the library.
Very good, thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate your service on that board as well.
Thank you.
Next, a report regarding the Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority meeting that happened on Thursday, October 28th. I attended that meeting by phone, but I will take a stab at providing an update on what happened, and then Mayor Pro Tem or Commissioner Garza can fill in for me. The new business items that the authority board took action on largely involved easement agreements, as the authority is carrying out the work of securing easements for the pipeline that will extend north, and that is referred to as Finished Water 1. As that takes shape, it looks like we could be out to bid on that portion of the project in the spring, which is exciting. And when you see those easement agreements being approved and paid for, it makes it real. It makes it real. We also approved improvements and maintenance at the intake structure at the reservoir itself. And funny story, how that came about is my family and I go down to the reservoir and enjoy recreation, and I will almost every time go over and look at the intake structure, of course, from the water, and I could see that it needed some maintenance and needed repainting and things like that, but no one at the authority had ever looked at it from that angle. So it was nice to be able to provide some pictures, and we're gonna get it spiffed up because we want to be good neighbors and take good care of the appearance of things down at the reservoir. We also approved the Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority Asset Management Plan, And then we got reports from our federal consultant as well as our state consultant, and got brought up to speed on activities at the state and federal levels. I will tell you that we are working and meeting frequently as the board and with the leaders at Texaco as well as with EPCOR in order to finalize plans on what the Texaco alignment of the Ute Pipeline project will look like, and should have something in the next, I hope, 60 days to report to you about progress with that. Any questions about the Water Authority, or Mayor Pro Tem or Commissioner Garza, would you add anything?
I could add a couple of things. For the pipeline to Portales that we're currently working on, 7,000 feet of pipe has been laid down, and they'll be adding a second crew the first of the year to move that forward. We also received a monthly report that the surface level has dropped from 3,779.08 to 3,778.64. And the storage level dropped on September 28th from about 152,100 acre feet to 149,500 acre feet, which is a decline of 2,600 feet.
Very good. Thanks for adding that. In particular, adding about finished water 3 and the pipe being installed between here and Portales. They're doing that at quite a rate, and it's great to be able to see that happening, and to very soon have our water system connected to the Portales system. Again, making all of this work over the years and making it all come together. It's very good.
Mayor, that's an exciting project. I've had numerous people come to me and ask what's going on the road to Portales and what that pipe is. So, word's getting out there that this project's moving forward.
Yep, it sure is. Sure is. Commissioner Garza?
I think we just need to bring some pictures next report. That way
good
the
idea.
general public can see a general idea of what's going on with the project, and our tax dollars are being utilized properly.
That's a great idea. Thank you for that. We'll have to do a report that would include some visuals next time. Thanks for that, Commissioner Garza. All right. Any other reports? All right. Next then, we can discuss future agenda items. Ms. Burrows?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Commissioners. We have an item regarding the Ogallala Land and Water Conservancy. I believe their Executive Director, Ms. LaDonna Clayton, will be here for that. We'll have a discussion action regarding commission, boards and committees. As you have a new commissioner, we would like for you to have a look at your boards and committee assignments. There have been a request for a noise variance consideration for 105 Merrill Street. I have been working with building safety on the notification process for that, but it does require 7 days notice before the hearing, which won't be accomplished even if we were to send it out at the beginning of next week. So that will go actually at the the first commission meeting in December, if that's okay.
December.
Very good.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that. Commissioners, any future agenda items that you would like to mention and bring forward? Very good. We will move on to announcement of date, time, and place of city board and commission meetings. The Animal Control Task Force will meet at 5:15 on Monday at the Assembly Room at City Hall. Just to be clear, that is this coming Monday. Next Monday, we will meet.
That's
So,
great.
Animal Control Task Force, be aware. Lodgers Tax Advisory Board meeting will happen at 5:30 p.m. on Tuesday, November 9th, here in the North Annex. Planning and Zoning Commission will meet at 3 p.m. on Wednesday, November 10th, here in the North Annex. Make note that City Hall will be closed for Veterans Day on November 11th. The Eastern New Mexico Water Utility Authority Board will meet on November 18th, and that meeting will take place over in Texaco. And the next city commission meeting will be at 5:15 on Thursday, November 18th, right here in the North Annex. And before we adjourn, I did want to say welcome to Commissioner Burns once again.
Thank you.
Your first commission meeting, because of prior plans, you attended remotely, but it's great to have you here on the dais with us, and glad to have you on board.
Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioners, it's always a pleasure, and we are adjourned. But don't go anywhere, because we have a study session.
Mind 'em.
That would have been great.
He's going home.
Okay. I don't think I will, but.
Wouldn't it be nice?
It does. I'll show you what I don't like about it.
I'm gonna be losing voters, so no.
That's what,
Senator Bryan is gonna
polling are on. Just kind of do a brief review, recap, where we are, what we need to do moving forward, the final process, and just review of the maps and any questions that the commissioners have, anything that, you know, if there are changes or questions as to why things are the way they are. But I am going to allow research and polling to take over.
Okay, well, very good. Thank you for being with us this evening and sharing with us so that we can work through this, and I'll give you the floor.
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, commissioners. We're so excited to be here. Talking about redistricting is one of our very favorite things, so we're very excited to be here. I thought what we would do tonight is just is talk briefly again about the general principles of redistricting, go over the maps that you all have seen once before, and then take feedback and questions, if that sounds okay to you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am. That sounds great.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I've got a little PowerPoint. Can you all see that okay?
It is, yes, we can see it.
Okay. So my name is Brittany Poss. I'm the Director of Data and Analytics at Research and Polling. I'm joined here by Brian Sanderoff, who many of you know, of course. He's the President of Research and Polling and the state's resident redistricting guru. So as you talked about last time we were here, there are 5 basic principles of redistricting. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on these because I hope this is a review for most of you, but if you have questions or want me to talk about anything more specifically, please let me know. So the 5 principles of redistricting are equal population, meaning that each district has the same amount of people in it to ensure that everybody's vote is counted the same. Minority voting rights to ensure that communities of color have the opportunity to elect a candidate of their choice. Compactness, which means that the districts are sort of relatively concentrated around the geographic center, that there's no sort of pencil or snake-shaped districts. Contiguity, just meaning that all of the pieces of the district are touching other pieces of the district. There's no like islands of population not connected to the rest of the district. And then communities of interest, which is, you know, geographically concentrated groups, communities, neighborhoods that sort of share characteristics, making sure we keep those together and don't draw district lines that divide those communities. So just as a little recap, I think you've seen this table before, the population change in Clovis from the 2010 census to the 2020 census. So in 2010, there were 37,775 people living in Clovis. In the 2020 census, we counted 38,567, which is an increase of 2.1% or 792 people. And of course, that rate of change was not uniform across the city. District 1, as you can see, had the largest rate of growth, 20% over the decade, 1,800 people. District 2 actually lost population, about 1,100 people, or 11% of the total. District 3 lost some population, and District 4 gained a little population. And again, going back to equal population as a principle of redistricting, that of course means that districts 1 and 4 are going to need to lose a little bit of population, and districts 2 and 3 are going to need to gain some population. The ideal population of a district is really easy. We calculate it by taking the total population, dividing it by the number of districts, which of course is 4, which gives us an ideal population for each district of 9,641. And as you know, as we've told you before, when we talk about equal population legally, there's a little bit of wiggle room so that we can, you know, sort of get to those other principles of redistricting, like communities of interest and minority voting rights. So we're allowed a 5% deviation from that ideal population above and below. So the population of each district can range from 9,100 to about 10,000. All of the plans that we've drawn for you for your consideration have districts within that plus or minus 5% of the ideal population. So a couple of things to remember as we talk through this. All of the plans that we've drawn, I'm going to briefly go over the 6 plans that you've seen from us already. These are not set in stone, right? We can make tweaks, we can make changes to any of these plans. We've just sort of wanted to build some things to get the discussion started. Also, there's no final action required today. You know, this is just a study session. We're here to take feedback, answer any questions. So just wanted to be clear about all of that. And so unless there's any questions about that sort of quick and dirty recap of what redistricting is, I can sort of go over the plans that we've proposed. Pausing
Yeah.
just for, okay, great.
We appreciate the quick recap, and we think we're all set, and please continue.
Excellent, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just to sort of orient us, these are the current commission districts in the city of Clovis, districts 1 through 4. The percentages that you see under the district number are the percent deviation from that ideal population of 9,600. So as you expect, based on the rate of growth in that table I showed you earlier, you know, District 1 is pretty overpopulated. It's 12% over that ideal population. District 2 is about 11% under. District 4, 6% over, and District 3, about 7.5% under. One other thing I want to draw your attention to about the current districts is that Districts 2 and District 3 are currently majority Hispanic voting age population districts. So District 2 has 52.4% voting age Hispanic, and District 3 has 62.6 voting age Hispanic. That, of course, is important for minority voting rights and the Voting Rights Act sort of legal requirements. And so all of the plans that we've drawn retain 2 and 3 as majority Hispanic voting age population districts. You'll see that the actual percentages will fluctuate a little bit, but we've tried to keep those fairly consistent, even as we equalize the population across districts. So this is Plan A. And what we've done in Plan A is to equalize the population. First, if you'll notice, the boundary between District 4 and District 3 has moved north of 21st Street to the ditch between Spencer Park and Thornton Street to take those folks sort of north of 21st Street. The other thing we've done here is we have amended the boundary between District 1 and District 2. So District 2 is now taking in all of the folks south of 7th Street and east of Sycamore, as well as a little neighborhood east of Norris and north of 7th Street. So those are the changes to Plan A from the current districts. Plan B is really similar in terms of what we've done with the boundary between District 1 and District 2. Again, we've taken those folks south of 7th Street, east of Sycamore, and that little neighborhood north of 7th Street, east of Norris, put that in District 2 from District 1 to equalize the population. In Plan B, we hold the line between District 4 and Districts 2 and 3 at 21st Street. But what we do is we take the eastern boundary of District 3 from Main Street to Wallace there, north of 1st Street. And we've also included a little sliver between the railroad tracks and 1st Street into District 3 from District 2. The other little change we've made in this Plan B is District 4 was a little too populated, so we took out of the northeast corner of District 4 a little neighborhood that's east of the cemetery there and south of Llano Estacado, and that includes streets like, sorry, I have it written down, streets like Village, Mariposa, and Garrett Street in that little sort of sliver. And so that's Plan B. Plan C is the same boundary that we've been looking at between District 1 and District 2, that same little neighborhood east of the cemetery between 4 and 1. The difference between Plan C and Plan A and B is what we do between the boundary of District 3 and District 2. So rather than going all the way to Wallace Street, we moved the boundary north from 7th to 10th, and that gives us enough sort of population difference there for Plan C. Plan D, again, it's exactly the same as Plan C, except instead of the boundary between District 2 and District 3 going to 10th Street, we take it all the way to 14th Street, but only to Meriwether, not all the way to Main. And that's the idea of Plan D. Plan E looks the same as Plan D in terms of the boundaries between District 2 and District 3, also between District 1 and District 2. The difference here is rather than taking that little northwest or northeast corner between District 4 and District 1, we take a little sliver just north of 21st Street and just east of Sycamore. And there's a little neighborhood that goes from District 4 to District 1, as well as the folks north of Llano Estacado and west of Prince Street go into District 1 from District 4. Plan E. Plan F is a little bit of a departure from the rest of the plans. So District 1 is again taking those folks north of Llano Estacado and west of Prince Street. But the boundary between District 1 and District 2 now comes up to 14th Street, east of Norris. District 3, this looks really similar. The boundary between District 3 and District 4 looks really similar to Plan A, where we take that little sliver north of 21st Street along the ditch between, again, Spencer Park and Thornton Street. And then just to get us to the population, we need District 4 dips down just south of 21st Street between Prince and Sycamore to pick up that neighborhood there. So, Mr. Mayor, those are, again, just a quick overview of the plans. And I'm happy to take questions, take feedback.
Thank you, Ms. Poss. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
You've given us a great explanation of each of these plans, and we appreciate that. Commissioners, do you have questions?
Mr.
Yes.
Mayor, I have a comment. Brittany, this is Commissioner Juan Garza, District 1. And it's, District 1 has been mentioned a lot since we gain a lot of people on that district. It is not my fault that people like the commissioner on District 1, okay? So let's make that clear.
That's right.
I guess the problem there is that's where all new construction is going, and I think that's why we get all this increase in population. I don't have an issue with the numbers, but I do like Plan E a little better than the others. That's just for opening the conversation on this.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for that, Commissioner Garza. You know, just something that has occurred to me this evening in looking at the maps really, you know, for the second or third time now. And you mentioned it, Commissioner Garza. You said that, you know, District 1 seems to be growing. That's the one where we see some new construction happening and so forth. And so one of the things, and I could be wrong, but one of the things that I'm not sure I like about giving, you know, District 1, that area west of Prince, and then the area out by, I guess that's out by Gaddis, is just that, you know, what if there's development in those areas, and then we would be taking that area back from District 1 and giving it back to District 4 and sort of going back and forth, you know, and we know that there's an addition coming east of Raintree, and that the Raintree addition will likely continue to develop in phases. And so I wonder about that idea of giving District 1 some of that west of Prince and then out by Gaddis. It's just the thought that occurred to me.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, that's something that we could tweak in Plan E. We have the sort of latitude in the population deviations to put that back in District 4 if we needed to.
Got it. Thank you. Commissioner Paula?
I I'm in favor of Plan A, and I'll tell you why. I don't like the other plans because there's small sections that are sectioned off, and I'll just use my district, District 4, as an example. In that northeast corner there, those are 3 streets, and I think it gets confusing for people. I would literally walk out my back gate and they are in a different district. And I don't like where there's tiny little pieces of the districts that are sectioned off. And, you know, Plan E, for example, in District 4, it has the southeast portion that is, just kind of sticks out, and I think it's confusing to people.
Yeah, appreciate that feedback, Commissioner Paula. Commissioner Casals?
I also like Plan A. I mean, District 3 lost 400 and some. And if we take some up to Sunland and Starlight, I'm in favor of Plan A.
Okay. Thanks for that. Commissioner Madrid, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts is Plan E.
You
I
like
kinda
E?
like Plan E.
Okay.
So, and I hate to go cut our area up to 21st, above 21st, since it's so straight. Mrs. Paula was saying, she said that it's cutting these slivers here. Well, we cut a sliver up there to 21st. So,
Yeah.
either way you look at it, there's gonna be slivers all over the place.
Yeah,
There is,
there's
but-
gonna be
Yeah,
that.
but you lost 400 votes, 400. Our district shrunk.
Commissioner Paula, could you help me with your,
All of them are gaining, E and
your
A.
division again? What parts of the slivers you don't like? Was it on E?
So on E, it's the southeast, it runs along 21st. See how there's that piece that, on the southeast portion of District 4, it would now be District 1.
Okay.
And then all the other plans, except for A, take the northeast corner. And it's just 3 little streets, and so I think it becomes confusing where, when Commissioner Madrid mentions, you know, Plan A and how it kind of now goes up along Sunland, at least that's a bigger section so that it's more, people understand that a little better.
Right, right. Okay. Any other thoughts, Commissioner Burns, on that?
No, not at all. Thank you.
Commissioners? Mayor Pro Tem?
Good right now.
Yeah.
Still.
And keep in mind, we're not headed toward a decision tonight. This is a study session, but I think it's good discussion. It's good to bring up the
Yeah, it sounds like we've
concerns.
narrowed it down to 3.
And Mayor, if I may, the districting before this, so 10 years ago, we came out of one that we took a neighborhood and we divided it into 3 different districts. Very, very confusing during voting for residents, for even those people that were going out campaigning. You know, you had a section that was, so I would say anything that helps a voter easily be able to understand what area they are in, as well as for any potential candidate that they're not confusing voters by thinking, oh, well, it's right there, so it's still within, you know, this basic subdivision or something. So I would ask you to keep that in mind.
And Mayor, I can,
Oh, Brittany, if it's possible to fix any of these that take those tiny little slivers out.
I mean, we can definitely take a look at it. I think, you know, based on the population, it's either gonna be a piece of District 4 along that Sunland Drive, or it's gonna be a piece on that sort of east side, whether it's the northeast or the northeast or the southeast. But we can see what we can do about minimizing those.
You know, I was looking at this sliver right here that they're talking about here on 21st. Those are those big houses, those big acreages are there, and it's not gonna affect a lot of people there. You know, it's just I don't know how many people there is, but that's where DeMaio and Raleigh and all those, right in that area.
Yeah, there's not more than 10 houses there, I don't think.
He mentioned that there's not more than 10 houses, he
There's not more than
thinks.
10 houses,
Yeah.
I don't know how many houses there is, but I know it's just that sliver.
I think it still just gets confusing though, for voters, and
Right.
district lines it's easier to go off of a main street in town than it is to, oh, well, I'm just this one little sliver, and then the rest is, it gets confusing.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
confusing for candidates as well, trying to
Right.
explain your district.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, good point, Commissioner Rowley, definitely.
Yeah, and I agree as well. I don't think we need to make it any more difficult for the citizens to figure out what district they live in, because I think every time we have an election, a municipal election, we have people asking, what district do I live in?
Right.
Or calling City Hall to ask what district they live in, So it makes, we need to cut down on the confusion,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
definitely.
I certainly like Plan A. It seems to me like that just is the most simple approach. We have really just two changes, or two areas affected, and they both kind of make sense,
We all agree in this neck of the woods, too.
Mayor,
Yeah,
does the
yes.
Plan A get us to where we should be as far as the numbers and things?
It does, as Ms. Poss explained it, yes.
Either of these do.
Sure does. Yeah, and to be clear, all of them do, as far as the,
really?
yeah,
Okay.
all of these make the districts even.
This looks like maybe the most, one that wouldn't be as confusing as some of the others.
More simplified, yes, for the residents.
Okay. Well, again, we're not leading to a decision this evening, but are there more questions that you need answered in order to continue to think about this?
Just time.
Just time? Okay. Ms. Melanson, do we need to, okay.
I just. That's yours.
Okay.
How much time do we need?
Well,
I don't want your stuff.
So how will we proceed beyond this, Mayor?
okay,
don't.
well, after this, we will have this on our agenda in early December.
That's correct.
First meeting in December, we would like,
The next meeting.
next meeting,
So that it's yeah, we were hoping to have a vote at the next meeting so
Okay.
that it is in place before December 1, which is the date of proclamation for candidate filing, so that everything is set for that date.
So, based on the discussion that's happened this evening, we could, I guess, bring all of these options before the commission, at the next commission meeting, and
Correct,
we
Mayor.
wouldn't whittle it down.
Yeah, and so
because,
what we'll do is we'll actually post these also, and advertise them to the public at City Hall as well as on social media. And then be able to garner any additional feedback, from the citizens.
That's great.
And then be able to have that feedback provided to you as well, at the next commission meeting for
That's-
consideration.
That's great. I love that we're leveraging the tools available to us to get the public's input on that. That's wonderful. So to answer your question, Commissioner Burns, at the next commission meeting, we will decide. Thank you very much. Yeah. All right. Well, unless there's anything else necessary, we will conclude this. Ms. Poss, Mr. Sanderoff, thank you so much for your time and all the work you're doing for us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
See you Saturday.
Yes.